Okay, today's lesson 913 is the discriminant. I will be able to use the discriminant to determine the number of solutions of a quadratic equation. So the discriminant is the expression under the radical sign in the quadratic formula. So the only part we're doing in the quadratic formula is the part under the radical. If you remember the quadratic formula, it goes like this: negative b plus minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So when we're talking about the discriminant, we're talking about just this part under the radical. So b squared minus 4ac. What this determines is the number of solutions of a quadratic equation. Because we're doing the square root, if we get, for instance here, a negative answer, since we can't take the square root of a negative number, we'd have no real solution. See, zero real solutions. So if the discriminant's value is negative, under the square root is negative, we'd have no real solutions. On a graph, it would never cross the x-axis. So you see how it doesn't cross? The second option is if we get 0 as the answer. So the square root of 0 is 0. If you add or subtract 0 from a number, you get the same value. So you'll get only one answer, and that means it only crosses or touches the x-axis at one point. And the last option is if we get a positive answer. Square root of a positive number will give me a plus and a minus, two answers. Okay, so two real, and you can see it crosses in two places. So those are the three situations that can occur. So the discriminant tells us a lot about a quadratic function. So we use the discriminant to quickly determine how many solutions or how many x-intercepts we'll be getting. So example 1, state the value of the discriminant and determine the number of real solutions of the equation. So the first thing we have to do is put our equation in standard form. So we're going to move the 3 to the other side by adding 3. Once it's in standard form, we're going to identify what A, B, and C are. And then we're going to plug into the discriminant, which is b squared minus 4ac. So we have 5 squared minus 4 times a times c. And we're going to use order of operations. So exponents first, and then multiplication next, like we were doing already. So that's going to be 48. And then subtraction last, and we get negative 23. And if we look at our chart, a negative answer means no real solution. So we're going to put 0 real solutions. So they ask you to find the value of the discriminant, which is here, and then how many real solutions there are. So that's what you're going to be doing. So make sure you do these carefully. Let's look at the next example. State the value of the discriminant and number of real solutions. This is already in standard form. So A is 2, B is 11, and C is 15. So B squared minus 4 times A times C. So exponents first, 121 minus multiplication of all this. 4 times 2 times 15 is 120. 121 minus 120 is 1. So the 1, if we look back at our chart, is a positive value. So it has 2 real solutions. We get, if we take the square root of 1, we get plus minus 1, so 2 answers. And then number 3, again, this is already in standard form. A is 9, B is negative 30, and C is 25. So we're going to do B squared minus 4 times A times C. So B squared is 900. If we multiply 4 times 9 times 25, 4 times 25 is 100. 100 times 9 is 900. 900 minus 900 is 0. Again, if we take the square root of 0, we get 0. Plus or minus 0 is still 0, the same value. So there's only one real solution. So those are the 3 options. We saw 3 of them and what they look like. So you're going to use that to do your worksheet. Make sure you find this value of the discriminant. The square root is not in the discriminant. So don't take the square root, just figure out, use it to figure out how many solutions there are. Okay, so you get the value and then say how many solutions. Again, use the chart to help you. Okay, if it's negative, 0, if it's 0, 1, and if it's positive, 2.